Do you want to get your kids outside more? Do you feel maybe intimidated by the outdoors or just the sheer work that it takes to get everyone prepared and outside? And then what do you do when you get there? Today's episode will hopefully inspire and encourage you about how easy and tangible this can be in your day to day life. I'm talking with Susie Spikol. She is a wonderful woman and naturalist, mother, and author. And today she's going to give us just some really practical tips and encouragement about what we can do outside from really, really little kids up to, elementary teenagers and how it fits in your day if you are a really busy family, even if you are a sports family, even if you have your kids in public school, even if you feel like I don't have space for this in my life, there's some really great suggestions in there for everybody from the homeschooler all the way to the really busy. So let's jump in.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
I believe that all moms can thrive no matter what your circumstances are. Now, we use the outdoors a lot when we're in survival mode to help make our rough days a little bit better. But there's a lot that we can do as moms when we're in hard seasons to make our days go smoothly. And that is the whole purpose of the Surviving to Thriving toolkit, to give you very practical, simple things that you can do to thrive no matter what your circumstances are. And you can go and learn more at survivingtothrivingtoolkit.com to be the first to know when the doors open again to that program, to really help support you to be confident no matter what season of life you're in, no matter whether you're going to be in it for a long time and you can't change the hard stuff and you want to work your way towards thriving. Welcome to the Thriving in Motherhood podcast. Today I'm here with Susie Spikol. Welcome, Susie.
Hi, Jessica. It's so exciting to be on your podcast.
Well, I am thrilled to talk with you today because you have a beautiful way of taking, I think, what a lot of moms wish they could do or wish came naturally and making it really tangible with your book, with having kids have really wonderful experiences in the outdoors.
Thank you so much. That was my hope that my book, Forest Magic for Kids, would really inspire families to kind of use the book together as a jumping off ground into the imaginative world that nature can give to children and to adults. I mean, it's so fun to play with your child and kind of get them started imagining together outside. And I have 3 kids, and my youngest, he's turning 14 on Thursday. But even last year, we'd go out and build fairy houses together. Never
Yeah,
too old.
that is so fun. Okay, so let's maybe go back to the very beginning, but what does motherhood look like for you right now?
Sure, yeah. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom of 3 kids. My oldest is 25, and she's graduating from the University of Illinois with a dual master's in library science and history next week, which I'm very thrilled for her. I have a 23-year-old son who works building beautiful like stone patios and stone installations. And then I have a very soon to be 14-year-old son. And so motherhood for me looks like right now spending a lot of time with an adolescent teen, and then also checking in on my older kids, making sure that everything in their life is going well, finding ways to connect with them, spending time with them. It's different, but you're still a mom no matter how old your kids get.
Yeah,
So that's motherhood.
absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, where did then your expertise and interest come into play with imaginative play and childhood and outside and all of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an unlikely candidate to be a naturalist. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, like back when Brooklyn wasn't very cool and it was very kind of just a little rougher. But I was one of those kids that just spent a lot of time looking in the cracks between the sidewalks and being excited about finding earthworms or snails. Or I had a secret fort that was like a sliver between these 2 garages. You could only fit it in sideways. We called it the sliver. But I think all that time in spending time outside in my neighborhood in Brooklyn with my neighborhood friends just sort of spurred me on to falling in love with the natural world. And I just took it. I didn't even know that people could be naturalists until I was in college and got an internship at Central Park Conservancy and spent a couple of weeks with people that were teaching kids about nature in the park. And I was like, wow, you can have a job like this? And so I thought that was a good job for me. I love telling stories of nature, and I especially love the overlap of story, like natural history stories, and sort of folklore stories or mythology, fairy tales. I like it where there's like a place where they overlap. So that's me.
That's wonderful. So do you have a favorite place to go for those stories? Like or even an example story for us of how this works?
Oh yeah, there's so many great books and more coming out every day. But I'm a really big fan of E.B. White and chapter book reading. And my kids and I, we read books out loud. Even my 14-year-old last summer, we read The Hobbit out loud together. Sometimes he would read, sometimes I would read. But when they were younger, we read Stuart Little, Trumpet of the Swan, and Charlotte's Web. And with Stuart Little, the reading of that book, where there's this small little character, the rat, Stuart, it just lends itself to kind of going outside and looking at the world through Stuart's eyes. And so we would go out and build like Stuart's village and make his little canoe and put it in the water. And those books just really help feed the imagination. And so I just feel like I want to encourage parents to spend time at their local libraries, finding books that kind of encourage imagination outside. So
Oh,
that's my thought.
yeah. Well, and what's so interesting is, I mean, how much time do you find that it's child led versus parent led? Like, at what point does that scale tip?
Yeah, such a great question. I do think that as parents and as me as a naturalist, it's really important to step back and not have the imaginative game be my game, that I'm setting everything up. So I do feel like leaving a lot of space when you're outside playing and letting the child really be the leader in how they want to play it. And we live in a world now where we want to take pictures of these beautiful, maybe fairy houses or little homes that your child might build, and we want them to look like Instagram perfect, but they're not going to, they're really not going to if kids do it. They're going to look authentic. And I think that is really a really great place to spend time with your kids, is really letting them be the leader of the outdoor adventure. And you might have to help your kids and kind of spur them on, kind of give them little tasks or little ideas, but then to step back and let them tell you their ideas and engage with their ideas.
So what would this look like? Maybe you can give some examples. What does this look like when you've got the like three and under crowd versus the early elementary versus late elementary, kind of like for
Yeah,
parents to help like start
sure.
scaffolding this?
Yeah, for the young, the preschool, the three and under, or yeah, the three and under, I love the mud kitchen, right? That is just pots and pans, old pots and pans, measuring spoons, cups, a little bit of water, and all those loose parts of nature, mud, leaves, twigs, and just letting the kids kind of have play and maybe encouraging them to make a pie for you, or you make something for them and then they make it for you. So that is, I think, a really great example of loose play for younger children. And then as they get older, I really like continuing the kind of mud kitchen idea, but kind of moving it towards potions. And so that's kind of where imagination might come in. And Forest Magic for Kid, there's a whole potion section where you might be using like pine needles and saying, oh, these are the chin hairs of a unicorn, or peeling apart a pine cone and saying, oh, these are the scales of a dragon, and just mixing that up and letting them take the lead. I give them little jars to put stuff in, sometimes little labels to make, stories that they can tell you about what the potion's going to do. So that, I would say, is probably preschool through early ages, maybe first and second grade. And then as the kids get a little bit older and their fine motor skills have really developed, that's like when I like to move into those fairy homes or gnome homes where they're building really tiny stuff. And it can be frustrating if they're too young to kind of get the bark to balance on a twig. But you want your third and fourth and fifth grader to be developing those really great fine motor skills. So building little homes, little villages, that's really perfect. And then for teens, I always move more towards adventure. So it's sort of, maybe a backpacking adventure or a canoe adventure or a park adventure, a scavenger hunts, that type of stuff. So is that helpful, you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the why behind it? Like, why would we put energy into this as a parent?
Oh my gosh. That I love that you asked that question. I could go on about why, but playing outside, imaginative play outside is, first of all, really freeing for you as an adult because sometimes I think as grown-ups, we go outside and we feel like we have to know the name of the tree, what bird we're seeing. It feels like we get in this trap where we want to be the expert outside. But with imaginative play, you don't need to be an expert. Everybody is the expert. It's their own imagination. So you're kind of freed from this role of being like, this is a maple tree, and this is an oak tree, and this is a red-breasted nuthatch. You're free. This could be a fairy. It could be a troll, a troll's home. So you're kind of freed from that. And then for kids, imaginative play outside is really great on so many levels. First of all, it's great for those fine motor skills. It's great for being outside, exposure to the elements, the fresh air, the sunshine, the vitamin D, all of the benefits that we're reading about that spending time outside gives people of all ages, not just kids, but people of all ages. So as a parent being out there doing it, you're benefiting from those same physical benefits of the outdoors. And then two, it really helps develop their language skills. They're telling you what they're imagining. They're showing you what they're imagining. You can have them write about it. You can have them draw about it. If they're playing with another friend, there's a lot of communication that has to go on and conflict resolution. And it's free. It's loose parts. It's just whatever is outside in nature. You do not need any special tools. Like my mud kitchen supplies come from, we have a swap shop at our town's dump, and I just get the women that run the swap shop know, oh, Susie will take the old egg beaters and the old measuring spoons. So they kind of put a box away for me. And I do little teacups from the swap shop too. So you don't really need a lot of money to spend time outside and have all those amazing benefits. And I will just say too that a lot of the imaginative play doesn't only have to happen outside. It can happen in your house. In my book, Forest Magic for Kids, there's a way of building a cushion fort with the couch cushions and chairs and blankets and kind of making a burrow like you're a small animal that can live inside the burrow. It's harder if you like your house nice and tidy to kind of let go of that, but it is so much fun. And maybe it gives you a chance to clean under the couch cushions because they're off on the floor in a building. So yeah, those are some of the benefits. I'm currently really thinking a lot about the benefits of play for kids because I don't know if you've noticed this, Jessica, but maybe kids aren't playing the same way we used to play when I was growing up. And there's a lot more screen-driven play that happens in our world. And I mean, that's fun. I'm not going to say it's not fun. It's designed to be very addictive and appealing, but really it's designed by an adult. And it's designed to keep your kids on it. So when you go outside and you're building an imaginative world outside, that's designed by your child. That is like true imagination. That is like where all those creative ideas are being kind of developed. And it's not being led by an adult's vision of what a child should be playing on some sort of screen. So.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I have a real life example from today. I could give you a real life example from every day,
Yeah.
but so I've got 4 kids, and all morning they've been reading a book series about cats, the Warrior books.
Oh my gosh, love that series.
Okay, so they're outside and they're building all of these forts and clans and recreating it, and they're dragging in sticks from the woods and building these amazing creations and foraging. They forage all the time from our yard.
Always.
So, and collecting all these little mock berries and things that they can use as their animal kill. And
That's so
anyway,
great.
but I will say, like, that's something that kind of like you're saying, it just happened naturally in a lot of ways, like just by reading books and
Yeah.
then giving them opportunities to go play, which means that we didn't give them other things to do. We let them be bored. Like, that's just
Oh,
kind of how they've grown up, is just always
yeah. Boredom
outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boredom is really good. It's like the mother of invention is boredom. And when we fill up all of our space with stuff, screen stuff in particular, it doesn't let a person, whether they're a child or us, kind of let our minds go to those imaginative places. And I just love that your kids are playing Warriors because my daughter played Warriors forever. And I had to call her by her cat name, and she only spoke in cat. She'd be like, meow, mama, meow, this or that. Those books are fabulous. Like we would read them out loud. She had all of the warrior books from the library, and it went on for a long time. And to this day, she's still a real cat lover.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's yes. So my kids are knitting cats that are like full size now. I mean, it's like it goes deep.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. I
but I
think
would also
that's
oh,
I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, I think that's just a perfect example of how deep an imaginative world a small world can be for a child. And small world play in particular is so good for your children. It is giving them the power of being in charge of something that they're actually bigger than. So it's a lot of kind of leadership skills that get developed in those small worlds. And then just the imagination behind it. And yeah, small world play is really, I spend a lot of time doing that with students I work with, third graders in particular. We make peep villages and they go deep. They have their own language sometimes, their own flags. They have different jobs that people do. One group I work with has a currency where no, acorn caps are like worth a certain amount depending on sizes. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And I think one of the things that I did, because I don't typically like I'm not in those worlds with them. Like I'm not a part of the play. If I try, I ruin it. Like it doesn't work. But I think one of the things I've just learned to do is like that's why I garden, because then they can be
Mhm.
side by side. Like even when they were little, it's like I'm not in your world, but I'm still next to you, but I'm outside. And so like finding solutions like that have been really helpful for our
Yes.
family.
Yeah, that is such a great example. I also did very similar things where I would be outside, also gardening, and my kids would be sort of near me playing. And I could hear that kind of keep my ear on what they were playing, which is so fascinating to hear. Like, do your kids use special little voices too? Like, do
Oh
they have
yeah.
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 That's so
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Really
And I
fun.
think too, like as a mom, there's also all these other levels of like, you know, I might be on the couch or taking a nap. And what are they doing? They're outside playing. It just like it just we put so much pressure on ourselves, maybe about screens in particular. For example, since you brought that up, and a lot of times, like if we just give them the resources and tolerate the mess, the forts in the
Yes.
house, like all these things, like we have been inundated with that for years and years and years, and it's kind of a love-hate relationship, but mostly a love because they're doing good things, even though it creates a byproduct of it's a lot to clean up, if
Yeah.
you're too tired to clean it up.
I mean, that's why I think outdoor play is so great because
Yes.
then it's outside and it's okay. It's not like your house is getting turned upside down. Just send them outside. And if you live in a city and being outside might not be as, you might not have a big backyard or a kind of space around your home. There's so many great parks and so many green spaces in cities, and you can go to the green space in the city and you can bring a book to read. It's so great to model also not using your screen, so bringing a book to read, a crossword puzzle, or have a friend that you're having a chat with if you have kids that can play together and kind of be in that space. Think about like beaches, when you go to the ocean or to a lake and there's sand. I mean, kids are so happy with just a shovel and a bucket, and they can play for hours creating things, and you get that chance. And that could be your everyday. You could do something like that every day, not at a beach, but just in your own backyard or at a city park or in a green space. I don't know.
Yeah, and when my kids were little, like we have a backyard now, but we didn't for the first half of my motherhood. And so we'd bike and I would bring something to crochet or I did wood carving. I made like carve their toys at the playground
Oh my
or like
gosh.
because I just couldn't sit there and I can't read books for that many hours, like I was,
Yeah,
but I just found like bringing a lot of projects with me. I do not do that anymore. But when they were little, that's what I did. I just brought
I
like
love
projects.
that. I love that you carved and that you crocheted and all those little, all those handcrafts like carving and crocheting and making tiny little beings with, out of wood and a little bit
Or
of
like wool
glue.
felt or any of those
Whoa,
things as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so into the needle felting. I make a lot
Yes.
of little creatures for story cloths when I'm teaching about something that's really focused on natural history, maybe like the life cycle of an owl. I have these tiny little needle felted owls that I made that inhabit this fabric as a way of teaching on a small scale the story. It's like telling the story and visualizing it for the kids, and they love it. And if I can, I'll leave it in a classroom, and then the play just is great. So you could even have it contained that way, like on a cloth in a spot in your house.
So did you draw from, it sounds like very Waldorf style. Did it come from there? Is this just kind of,
Oh gosh, I do love Waldorf style.
okay.
I love it. It's such a great that handcraft stuff. And where I live in New Hampshire, there's a very thriving Waldorf community and school nearby. But it isn't all completely Waldorf. It is drawn from the aesthetics of Waldorf. I love it. My kids went to Waldorf preschool, but then they went to public school because that's what I could afford. I'm a single mom, so you just do
Even
the
if you're
best you
not a
can.
single mom, it's a commitment
It's a
financially.
commitment.
It's more than
And
college
it's
sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. But yeah, I love it. I love their use of story and movement and those handcrafts. And whenever I have the opportunity to work in schools that are Waldorf based, I just really enjoy it. The kids are so much. I guess they have a lot more creative space in their day to be imaginative than in the current local public schools where I work.
Yeah, so let's talk maybe a little bit about that because we
Yeah.
homeschool and we always have. So for us, like this is very much a normal part of our daily life and our family culture. But what about because you work with all children in different situations.
Mhm.
So how does this work when you do have kids in public school that are busy most of the time?
Yeah, such a great question. I do work with all different school groups, and including we have a fabulous homeschool group that I work with weekly, and I adore my time with them. So much fun. They really know how to play. So public school is my time in public schools is usually an hour to 2 hours, and it's usually to get in the door of the public school. We have where I work at the Harris Center for Conservation Education, our programs are attached to their science curriculum. So it's very science based. But what's so great about it is it's outdoor based. And it's at the school site. So the idea that you have to go someplace special to experience nature is not an idea that I prescribe to as a naturalist. Nature is everywhere and in your own community, knowing where to look for it, knowing how to find it, it's really empowering and it makes you feel connected to the place that you live in. And it makes you feel like nature is here. You don't have to go someplace special. So when I'm outside with kids, it's really using a lot of hands-on kind of tools, magnifiers, bug sweep nets, binoculars, ponding nets. It's that type of stuff. And it's sort of the action, the movement of collecting and searching and finding that I find are really the most compelling work that I do in the schools. And then if I'm really lucky, I'll have a teacher that is willing to say, "Oh, let's do Stuart Little Village again." And because I'll pitch that idea sometimes if I have a creative teacher who feels like they've got their science under control and want to do something a little different with me. And what I noticed is that it can take kids that are in public school a little bit more time to enter that world, but they are fully entered it. They fully get into it, and it becomes something that the teachers that I work with do throughout the whole year. It becomes like a spot they go to. It's what they do. It's so fun. So kids are kids, no matter where and how they're educated. And when you give them the opportunity and kind of the tools and the encouragement and the passion for spending time outside, it really delivers.
So how does this translate then to busy families? Like how would you
Yeah.
like counsel them to create some of this?
Well, yeah, we are so busy in our parenting world. There's so much more structured sports than ever before. My kids are all very sporty and they were all on like travel teams, and we spent a lot of time in the car, and we would, and I still do with my 14-year-old, getting him to soccer or mountain biking or whatever, all these things. And this idea, I just wish that we weren't so sport crazy and that we were just kind of, it sounds silly to say, but maybe more old fashioned or nostalgic in the way that we looked at sports. Soccer is during soccer season, and that's when it is. But now it's like soccer is, if you want to play soccer in high school, you got to play soccer all year long. And that is a commitment that parents make. And it ends up making them drive places and feel really busy and maybe rush having family dinners, all those things. So I just would suggest, if you felt confident enough and checked your child, how interested are they really in this kind of busy life of going from sport to sport to sport, or dance to dance, or art, whatever it is that your kid is into. Is it what they want to do, or is it what you want to do? So maybe asking those questions first. And if it is, like my son is like, yes, I want to play soccer all the time and I want to ride my mountain bike all the time. So we just make sure that we have days, it's usually Sundays, just the way our schedule works, where we aren't doing those things, or if he has a soccer game on a Sunday, then we'll do it on a Saturday, but where we're just unplugged from that busyness. And that one day it's such a treasure. Those are the days where we'll hike a mountain together. He's 13 or 14. So, or we'll go canoeing, or we'll go on an adventure to a different part of our state to see something beautiful, or go birding. He probably gets tired of me dragging around to all the nature stuff, but in the end of the day, when I ask him how his day is, he usually likes it. So I don't know, I guess carving out time, you might have to be intentional about it, and you might really have to double check with your child. Is this what you want to be doing, or is this, like me as a parent, what I think my kids should be doing? Those are hard questions.
No, but I think, in the case where it's not, I mean, you as a naturalist isn't having your child opt out of things that they're really passionate about, right? Like,
Right. Right.
but you have been very intentional with the time you do have to
Yes.
create space for that.
Yeah, I think it's important too. Like, kids need their own stuff. Like, just because I love nature doesn't mean that I should assume that all my kids love nature. I'll never forget my oldest daughter. We always went on these big, like 7-day canoe trips, and they were like long and hard. And she might have been 12 when she said, "Oh, why can't we vacation like normal people and like stay in a hotel and sleep on a real bed?" And we were just like, "Oh no, this is what we do as a family." And then she was very resistant, and it would be hard. But lo and behold, she gets to college, and what's the first thing she does? She joins the outing club and becomes a canoe trip leader. And I was just like, okay, she had to say, that's part of it, to push it away, but it was in her, and she still loves spending time outside. So we always made sure that we had time to do things that she loved to, like play Warriors, or, she loved lacrosse. She was a big lacrosse player. So that was a big commitment too.
So you guys are like really intense outdoor people. We've got some friends that do the camping canoe trips, and that requires a commitment all on its own. So how would you recommend a family, maybe, especially the parents aren't, because I mean, people in my generation in the 90s, some of that was like TV time. We didn't have like cell phones or things like that, but we already were like starting to step away from the outdoors. So what do you recommend to families who even the parents are uncomfortable with the outdoors?
So good. I work with so many parents, and we can have a tendency to kind of blame the child. We'll say, kids these days, they don't blah, blah, blah. They don't play the way we used to play. Like, it's somehow the kid's fault, but it's really about how we parent. And it's about doing things that maybe push our comfort as a parent, trying new things. And there are so many great organizations that are in communities across this country that will help you go outside. There's like Hike It Baby, which is like an online meetup group where you can join. There's local nature centers like the center I work for. We do a babies in backpacks, and you get to that's a great chance if you have a young baby and you meet other parents that also want to be outside, and then they connect, and then they are working together, going places together. There's libraries. Like I just had a whole conversation with somebody whose library did a library camp out for families where they provided tents and sleeping bags if you didn't have it. And they went to a state park. And so it was, in that context, sort of led by somebody where you could learn the skills and you weren't alone. So I think looking at what resources are available in your community and really trying that. And, just starting small, going outside, listening for what birds you're hearing, going on a walk in your neighborhood and slowing down enough that you're not like trying to get your steps in at a certain speed, but you're really like taking the time to explore and let your child show their interest in what captures their eyes. And there's a lot of great books on the market for families, whether they're parent guides like, there's a really book, I love it. I think it's called Wild Child. I can't remember the author of it. Oh, it's going to bother me. But I really like that book. That's sort of like why being outside is important. A person who I really love is David Sobel. He's a educator and author, and he wrote a book called Wild Play, which is sort of a memoir of all the ways that his children and him played. And it's just really great, kind of like, oh, that's such a cool idea. They did a lot of like scavenger hunts and bike adventures where they would get off their bike and go wandering around, picnics. I mean, go have a picnic. You don't have to feel like you have to canoe 15 miles to have an outdoor experience. It could be simply packing a picnic and having it under a big tree at your park. So I just think any chance you can, going on a little walk after dinner. It's a great way. I just read an article about how healthy that is for your digestion. So you eat dinner, it's not quite bedtime. And we know, like, don't you remember, oh, if you want your kid to sleep, go outside in the fresh air and they'll sleep like babies. Go out after dinner and go for a dusk walk and see the stars come up, or watch the sunset, or just go down your block and see what you're hearing. So all those small steps.
Thank you. Because I think I love this idea that you mentioned of like pairing community
Yeah.
with outdoors. So what do you like? What would you recommend someone Google search for? Like, what are we
Yeah.
looking for?
Well, I do love Hike It Baby. Have you heard of Hike It
No, I
Baby?
haven't.
Oh, I love it. They're just a group that is sort of around all across the U.S. where you can join, and they have meetups, and you go as a family and you meet up there. So I would just look for a family. If you want to look for your community, in your community, you could Google kind of outdoor family adventures and then put in where you live and see what comes up. Our organization, the Harris Center, which services the Monadnock region of New Hampshire, we get all of our information out to rec departments. So check your rec departments, check your libraries. The libraries are doing amazing things with lending libraries. There's gear libraries now where you want to try camping, but you don't have the gear, and that's expensive. But maybe your library has a gear library and you can borrow the tent for a few days, or binoculars. So check with your library, check with your local nature center if you're not familiar with it. Kind of most places have a nature organization somewhere nearby. And if you're in a city and you live near parks, there's usually friends of the parks that host lots of programs, or have junior rangers programs. So yeah,
Yeah, in
that's
fact,
a good message.
I haven't done any of these yet, but I just barely got an email from our state park, like the local Georgia state parks, and they have all of these events, like with
Yeah.
a wide variety of things that you can go do with your family.
Yes, and the in New Hampshire they have like a park pass for families where you because it can cost money to go to a park, but if you buy this like 10 pass visit, it's less money. So check your parks, check your state parks, check your local parks, and just kind of see what's out there. And don't feel like you have to do it alone. It's really fun to do it in community. That's where you're going to meet other people that are also sharing a similar interest to you and wanting to spend more time outside as a family. And who knows, maybe, 5 years later, you're all camping out on, a state park nearby.
Yes, we did that in October, and it felt like a really big deal.
So fun, though.
Yeah. That was before I got pregnant. Then I got pregnant. We haven't gone back, but
Yeah.
eventually we will make it back there.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true. I mean, I don't really do those big canoe adventures anymore since my husband and I separated. He was such a great, like I totally trusted him. We'd go on this like big, long adventure and I knew he would keep us safe. I don't, and I'm a naturalist who spends tons of times outside. I don't have the same confidence in me. But this year, friends of my other friends and I are going to do it together with our sons. So, that's also a really good. I'll feel empowered. I'll feel really excited, like, oh, I'm doing this. I loved it so much. And now I've got a buddy to do it with me. So, yeah.
that's a great point too. Like sometimes you just need to ask somebody to
Yeah.
like come with you.
Right.
Yeah, low stakes. We did for years. We did Nature Friday. Like all of us, we had like young moms and toddlers, and we would just go to a local nature center and hang out and pack a lunch and walk. And our little, I mean, they were all probably 4 and under, and they would jump in puddles and get dirty, and
Yes.
we
Oh,
kind of hung out.
that's such a great reminder. If you have parent resource centers in your community, we have a few in our community. They do like wild. I think they call them Wild Tuesdays or and Mini Explorer Wednesdays. So you can join up with one of those, and it is just that they go to different green spaces throughout the community, so that you're learning like where all these amazing outdoor resources are in your community. You're going with a group, you're having the experience together, and then maybe you go back as a family.
Yeah. Okay, as we're wrapping up here, where is your final bits of advice or things that you want to share to encourage moms, especially those with like elementary down children age?
Yeah, I mean, if your child is used to being on the screen, you'll get resistance. They'll be like, I don't want to go outside. Like it is comfortable and it's so appealing. They make the screen so appealing. It's hard to put it down. But remember, you're kind of the parent, so you can be like, no screens on Sunday. That's typically what we do we have like a no screen on Sunday thing, and we just go out. So maybe pick a day or pick an amount of time, and go out. And I think if you're feeling a little hesitant, definitely looking for some other friends to go with is a great tip. Those community organizations, maybe finding a book that you take out from the library is a picture book you're reading out loud or a chapter book, and then trying to kind of go out and have those experiences. And of course, you can get my book, Forest Magic for Kids. And that is just filled with over 50 different activities for families to do together. And I always like to tell people, I mean, I wrote my book, I tried to write it as beautifully as I could, and I hope I did a good job, but not really a book for reading, but it's a book for doing. And it's really about encouraging families to go out and do things together and to be kind of, a lot of times I'll have parents say, oh, wow, this reminds me of when I was a kid. So kind of get back in touch with your own child, your inner child, and remember what you like doing outside. I really liked making potions. And so you'll see that in my book. I liked little small worlds, and you'll see that in my book too. And those things are just so much fun. So
Well, and I will
I
say,
hope
like, it came in, I got it in the mail and I handed it to my daughter who's 11, and she just had so much fun poring over it. There's great illustrations, and they
yeah,
just need one idea and then they're off.
that's right.
So,
And having a bunch of loose parts. When I say loose parts, it's like stones and sticks. And the book has got some handcraft stuff in it. So you might need like scraps of felt or a little wood peg or a little piece of a stick that you can turn into a person, or a pine cone with some wool roving. But if you don't have those things, you can improvise. Your child can improvise. Maybe you don't have wool roving. That's just like fleece, right? But maybe you have yarn. So use yarn instead. So don't get hung up on, I don't have this material, so I can't do it. Just be inventive in your own way too. It's an
Excellent.
invitation. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Where can people find you and your book?
They can find me on my website at susiespikol.com, and that's got information about my book, some really sweet book trailer videos, other writing that I've done for magazines. It will also tell you about my next book coming out on September 16th, The Book of Fairies, which is sort of a continuation of Forest Magic for Kids. It's the same artist and the same publishing company, and it sort of has a similar look and feel to it. And that's just really digging down into imaginative fairy life and making sense of the natural world through that. So you can check that out. You can also follow me on Instagram, which is just Susie Spikol on Instagram. So that's it. And you can buy my book, Forest Magic for Kids.
Thank you so
You're
much, Susie, for
welcome.
spending your time with me this afternoon. This was really instructive and inspiring to just keep it simple and go outside again.
I love it. And good luck to you. I'm so excited that you're having another baby and that you're spending time outside. So keep going, Jessica.
Thank
Keep making
you.
great podcasts.
Thank you.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.